Hi, good evening, everyone watching here. Appreciate everyone joining. We'll be joining the Google Meet link on our W0TX web site here in just a moment, and get started with the Elmer session this evening.
Evening, Daron. How's my audio?
Hey, evening, Jeff. Your audio is great. Yeah, you sound just fine.
Great. You're loud and clear also.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Hey, Bob. Everyone else here on YouTube. Again, most of this, and you're more than welcome to join the Google Meet link. Let me put it in the chat. But that's where a lot of the conversation is going to be happening, and yeah, you can definitely pop in on there if you like. Let's see here, but yeah, good evening. Perfect. Let's see here. So yeah, it starts in about a minute, and yeah. All right, everyone. Good evening. It's about to tick over to. I may be muted. Good evening, everyone. I'm Daron, K1DBC. It's just ticking over to 1800 Mountain Time. Glad to see and hear everybody here on the air, or not on the air, just on Google Meet. There's just a few of us now, but this is just a very casual conversation about ham radio. In the Google Meet, definitely make sure you're muted when you're not speaking, just so we don't have any background noise. So you should see a turn off microphone option. You can post questions into the chat here, or you can join by audio as well. Let's see, if you click on the three dots and click on change layout, you should have an option for spotlight, and that should put me or whomever is talking at full screen essentially. So I am sharing my screen, and we can bring up whatever we're discussing. I can bring up links, things like that. So yeah, a couple more people join here. Appreciate that. Again, this is just a general ham radio conversation about electronics, STEM, STEAM, plenty of combined expertise and experience. Glad to hear everybody on the meet here. This is not a net. You don't have to be a ham radio operator to get involved. There won't be any check-ins. So I guess with that, yeah, does anybody have anything at the moment? I can definitely bring up a few things, but if anybody has any projects they're working on, things you want to bring up for this meeting or this group here, go ahead. All right. We are, I guess, a sister sort of related group or net, if you will, is the Ham Learning Net on Wednesday nights. Again, I didn't mention this, but we do stream our nets, our Elmer sessions, our meetings on YouTube. So if you ever miss it, you can always check it on there. If you search for our club call sign W0TX, Whiskey Zero Tango X-Ray, it's actually streamed on my personal page here. But if you can't make it to a repeater, you're not in the Denver metro area, or you ever want to hear it after the fact, or if you're watching live, you can watch it on your smartphone, smart TV, things like that. Again, just Whiskey Zero Tango X-Ray. last week we spoke about, let's see here. Where did that go? Let's see, we were talking about a follow-up on a Buddy Stick. Somebody had purchased a Buddy Stick Pro portable antenna, and just had some questions about counterpoise on that. And in previous weeks they had asked, and they had some follow-up last week. I can't remember exactly what the follow-up was, but yeah, Buddy Stick Pro, pretty cool. Looks like 6 meter. It's I think it's HF bands. Oh yeah, 40 meter to 6 meter right here, up to 250 watts. Pretty nice portable antenna. Pretty cool. So yeah, we were discussing that. Let's see what else there. Somebody was asking about indoor antenna usage in terms of power. And don't hesitate to jump in at any time. I'm just trying to fill in for the air here. Let's see, maximum wattage of indoor antennas, essentially. We were thinking up nothing more than probably 100 watts, I'm guessing, and you don't even really want that close to you. Definitely to talk about antennas in attics, kind of piggybacking on the topic this evening. And again, sorry, to preface this Elmer session here, it is 55 minutes or so. We do have a hard stop at 7 p.m. This evening's presentation is going to be How You Can Live Happily in an HOA by Stan, WB2SHR. So, yeah, we often talk about, and you can see here in his photo, it looks like he has a loop antenna within an attic. So it'd be interesting to hear about that, since seeing we were discussing that last week. I'll go ahead and drop and see if anybody has anything. Go ahead. Again, for those that just joined, you're more than welcome to put any questions into the Google Meet chat. You don't have to be a ham radio operator. You can jump in on the over the air if you want. Just unmute your microphone. Let's see what else here. I had brought up here in the Denver metro area, I had found this Nerd Night Denver, which is a monthly meeting. I don't even know how I found this, but they have some pretty interesting topics. They're talking about grammar, anthropology, and improv. Most recently, they were talking about geomagnetism, Tolkien Apollo 8. So these are at Bug Theater, Oriental Theater. So pretty interesting in-person things here. So what else here? Again, don't hesitate to jump in at any time. Let's see what else here. You should hopefully be seeing my screen, just the links I'm bringing up. We talked about, let's see, there's kind of a few other things, a little bit. We were talking about somebody was trying to mount some surface mount. This isn't exactly it, but they were trying to mount some surface mount components onto a perf board made for through-hole components. And they were trying to, I think that's what they were trying to do. So, but they were really just trying to find perf boards locally. So I think this was from the week before, trying to how to locally source equipment or tools. One is sparkfun.com. They're actually located up in Boulder, but they are an electronics component provider, like Adafruit or any of the other DigiKey, things like that. Another thing was brought up was Radio Shack Express is apparently a thing within Hobbytown retail locations. So there's some Radio Shack Radio Shacks back in a different form and still selling similar components that you would expect. So yeah, check out I think hobbytown.com, and they probably have a locator, a store locator, because there's definitely a few around that we had found. Let's see here. Yeah, on yeah, Wadsworth Boulevard, it looks like there's one there. So it'd be interesting to see They probably have a search locator for the Radio Shack Express, but yeah, that's what we were talking about there. Not many other places. Micro Center is kind of the biggest and closest. They do sell components, component level components. Let's see here. Electronic components and parts. You can find your diodes, your resistors. They have packs of assortments of things like that. So that's another option as well too. You can pick up locally here. Let's see here. Question in the chat here. Ed, Alpha Echo Zero Yankee Romeo asks, as they prepare their first shack, can they run an antenna cable underground for a short distance, 5 to 6 feet? Any complications there? It'll be dual band for starters. So, okay, so a dual band, probably hopefully up to 100 watts or something, or 50 watts, maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's a handheld. If you want to throw out any specs about what type of radio and antenna you plan on looking at, if it's a handheld or base station or something like that. We've talked about that in the past. I think some people just run their coax on top of the ground and don't bury it, and that works too. You definitely have to. Yeah, you're more than welcome to jump in on the audio. Go ahead. But burying it for cleanliness, I'm sure would work too. Yeah, just make sure you pick the right in the settings. Make sure the correct microphone is selected, and we should be able to hear you.
He's trying hard.
Yeah. Hey, Mark. So I'll throw it out to the group here. Anybody, any thoughts on that? Burying coax cable, necessary, unnecessary, just for cleanliness? Anybody on that?
The burying cable, yeah, you can bury it. That's no problem. I would suggest getting direct bury cable, or if you're not going to do direct bury cable, put it in a conduit of some type. The expansive soil here in Colorado, it shifts, especially if you're not down below like 18 inches below freezing or something like that.
Okay, so, I didn't know that they had that. That's cool.
Yeah, so you can do direct bury. If you're going to run it on the ground, make sure that you have a UV protected cable. Okay. I've heard of people buying the UV like spray you put on your car, plastics and that kind of stuff, and people going out there and running it down their cable. I've seen people do that. I have no idea whether it works or not. I've got, I don't know, 300-400 feet of it ran on the ground. So
okay.
The grass ends up growing around it anyhow. So
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. LMR 400.
Ed's still working on his audio.
Yeah. Feel free to jump in on the audio if you want. No, your microphone's not on. We're not hearing you if you are talking. LMR 400 though, that is. I don't know if that's a direct barrel. You might need that in conduit, but that is quite popular nowadays. It might be. I have done it and I do it. And for the last few years, it's worked for HF, VHF, UHF.
Times microwave, one you have up there, they sell it in both direct bury and
okay.
Regular.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Times microwave. That's what I buy. Direct bury coax.
Okay. Price per foot. What are you looking at?
I buy like 1,000 feet at a time.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Okay.
Last time I bought it was like 10 years ago. So.
That's first time and last time. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, 195.
Another comment?
Yep. Yeah, 195 is good.
Okay. Yeah, LMR 195. Yep. Sorry. Yep.
Dennis, there you go. Here. How about now?
Hey,
yeah, is that you? Yeah, go ahead.
It's like trying to work a ham radio. I couldn't figure out how my headset works. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, so I'm still on my. So thank you much, Mark, for your help after the last session. You got me on the air. I'm talking to people. It's great.
Absolutely.
Done some nets. I've made contact on different repeaters, and it's just been awesome. I have a whole page of contacts. I know last month I had no contacts, so I'm now talking to people.
Good.
And so the challenge has become I have a handheld, and so if I hear someone call out, I got to run outside to make the contact, which I've done a bunch of times. So now, of course, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I get an antenna outside the house, run in here to where you see me sitting, so I can attach it and actually, not be outside in the snow. Talking to people and begin to build out my first shack. So I'm thinking about different places I could put an arrow antenna, as Mark suggested to me, outside in a couple of different places, and I'm just mentally mapping out where am I going to run this cable. And one of my thoughts was up in a tree, but that would require this brief 5-6 foot run underground to get it where it needs to get. And so I didn't know if that was doable or not. Sounds like it's doable if I do it right.
Just browsing through random things here. Yeah, not probably helping the conversation. Yeah, that's definitely doable. Yeah, that distance you were talking about, 5 to 6 feet or whatever that was, that's definitely doable. Unfortunately, smaller cables are sometimes a little bit more expensive, but that's about it.
Well, that would be one.
Oh,
Ed, we lost you.
yeah, we lost your audio there, Ed.
Did you mute?
And I assume some power would be needed to drive through that, more than the 8-watt handheld that I'm using now.
So Ed, you broke up and we didn't hear any of that. So can you say that again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
So that short distance underground would be one short piece of maybe a longer 75-foot run from where the antenna might be.
Definitely.
I haven't decided where to put it.
Definitely run it as one piece. You would want to do some grounding and some lightning protection, that kind of thing. But each connector, you'll get a loss at that connector. So you want to minimize those the best you can.
It would be whatever. I'm envisioning a coax. That's some version of that is what it would be, right?
Yes. Yeah. Daron, can you pull up?
Sorry. What he had brought up was the LMR 400 by the direct burial of LMR 400 coax is what was suggested here. Times microwave, I think, is what he had mentioned here. Yeah, price per foot shown here. So yeah, you would be able to just directly bury that. Designed for flexibility, low loss, RF shielding, weatherability. Yeah. If you're saying anything, we can't hear you at the moment.
Yeah, I heard. It sounded like I cut out there.
Okay. Yeah, I was just
back?
explaining the. Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. I was just explaining this LMR 400 direct burial. Yeah, go ahead though.
So I haven't decided exactly where to put the antenna yet. My understanding is as high as you can get it, as far away from metal as you can get it.
Basically, yeah, and probably away from trees, potentially.
Away from trees.
They can soak in water and potentially have issues with that. Somebody might be able to expand on that, but may or may not be an issue.
Okay, I'm building out a place to put my shack here, so it's going to be a little bit before I actually do this, but I'm just mentally mapping out my options as I work towards that.
Okay.
Maybe I put in a pole or a small tower of some sort to accomplish that.
So you said arrow antenna, right?
Yeah, Mark had mentioned that.
Yeah, great. Here we
So
go.
I looked it up.
Anyone else have any other suggestions? Jump in. But that's
Yeah,
fine.
please. 2 meter, 6 meter. Yeah, as long as you have line of sight, specifically, yeah, for 2 meter. If you're doing repeater usage, line of sight to the repeaters, that should be just fine. Yeah, anybody on that?
Well,
or go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
I've been hitting them with my little 14-inch whip on the handheld from here, so I assume if I get a bigger antenna a little higher up on the house, it's going to work better, as long as I don't screw something up.
Yeah, just getting outside is going to be better.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Are you in an HOA or anything? Do you have any restrictions?
No, no. In fact, yesterday I was over in Old Town, and of all things, maybe it's one of the people on this call, but there was this beautiful telephone pole. It must have been 70 feet high on Yukon Street, right there outside of Elevated Seltzer. I had instant antenna envy because I thought, wow, look at that thing. That's what I need, but I don't know if I need to go to that extent.
No.
Yeah.
Something more reasonable would probably work.
Yeah. So you said dual band. So is that VHF, UHF you're speaking about? Like 2 meter, 7
Right.
centimeter?
I have just a little handheld that's 70 centimeter, 2 meter.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, I don't know that 8 watts is going to be, I might want to get a base station that I haven't figured out yet to go with it. I guess that's part of this hobby is you pick one thing, you get something else. The next thing you know, you start buying stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Plenty of options out there.
Next thing you know, you have a whole building behind your house full of ham stuff.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. Yeah, people bury cable all the time. I mean, that's done within professionally, obviously, within industry, and yeah, within hobby, as long as we understand what we're doing and not nicking any other lines or anything like that. Yeah, you could definitely bury cable and yeah, antennas. The higher up in elevation you can get it, better line of sights, outdoors especially. The greater your coverage is, essentially. So. Yeah, whatever options work for you, either a mast, a 30-foot mast that you can raise or whatever, or whatever options you have. You can put some, what is that? An eaves mount. I forget what that's called. But the eave.
It's a typical home here on Dover Street, right behind the food bank here near Old Town. So I'm right on that little street that goes behind the food bank. So it's in a neighborhood. There's houses around, so I probably don't want to get too crazy, but I do have options. Sure. It's not an HOA. Yeah. I don't have to worry about rules.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The sky's the limit. Then whatever you can do, and make sure not to piss off your neighbors or anything like that. But yeah, it's usually not
right.
Much of an issue.
That's why I thought about the tree, because it would be more stealth, mixed into the branches. Yep. But if that's a problem, we'll have to think of a different direction.
Let's see. People definitely
pull up what do they call it? A gable end mount. Maybe that's what it's called.
That would be a viable option. I mean, I could run through this attic above me. It's not super big, but there's space up there, so I could put something on the roof and run through that.
Yeah, the gable end. It mounts to the end of the gable and it has a pole on it. There you go. That's it there.
Yeah.
Mount your antenna to that. Do you have a picture of one mounted on a house?
That was this eaves mount was another term that I had seen for it too.
Something right there. Yeah, right in the middle. There you go.
Yes, I could do that. I absolutely could do that.
Yeah, they're not that expensive.
Yeah.
$30, something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe I start thinking in that direction. So we just eliminated the underground question. That would take that out of the
exactly
that whole thing out of the conversation.
Yep.
Then you can buy. You don't have to buy direct bury cable and save a little more money that way.
Well, it would make the run shorter too. Actually.
Yeah. Exactly.
It wouldn't have that. It would take that 80 feet and make it 40 feet or something. It would run through the ceiling over my head here, so it would be shorter.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Be a heck of a crawl. It's tight up there, but I'd have to figure it out. Well, great. I mean, that's a couple months worth of work. There's a bunch of steps between here and there, but that gives me something to work towards anyway. And we're about to have cold weather and frozen conditions, so that might put me off till spring. We'll see.
Yeah. J-pole, I think I've seen pictures of them mounted on roofs just like that. So that's a pretty typical installation. So,
well, that would get it 20 or 25 feet up or something.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't have to put up a mast or anything like that, guy wires, or it would just be a nice solid structure right there. Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, that would be visible to the neighbors, but it wouldn't be like that thing I saw on Yukon Street.
Right, yeah, yeah. I mean, J-pole's pretty unobstructive piece of equipment. It's most people wouldn't even. It looks like plumbing almost. I mean, you can make them out of plumbing, and so it's pretty unobtrusive. So, yeah. If that's the Aero J pole, I think maybe 2 meters 70 centimeters.
It looked like that. I mean, I didn't pick one out yet. There were a few
Okay.
options on the link, so I'd have to pick one. But I did see the ones that look like that.
Okay. Yep. We've talked about Dr. Ed Fong. He has a J pole antenna as well. That may have been a link provided to you as well. So yeah, let us know. Yeah, you definitely don't want to do it while there's snow or ice on the roof. So yeah, be careful. And
right.
Yeah, anytime you're mounting antennas, yeah, safety for sure comes first. So very cool. Yeah, let us know. Take some photos if you want. We'd always love to see your ham stations, your ham shacks, your antenna setups, and be cool.
Well, I'll do that. It's a work in progress, which you all have been through. This is my first go at it. So I'll have a book report at some point.
Gotcha.
Come back with.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, plenty of resources online. ARL, QRZ.com forums, plenty of other resources and guidance, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So yeah, check that out as well. Very cool. Yeah, good topic there. Well, I guess while we're there, is anybody else on that have any comments, questions in regards to burying cable, first time ham shack setup or roof mount or any other getting things set up and things like that? Go ahead.
I have a situation where I'm looking at mounting a I don't know, as reasonable size as possible UHF VHF antenna on an existing mast on my roof that currently houses a weather station, or currently supports a weather station, I should say. It's about a little over an inch diameter, inch and a quarter diameter pipe with a non-penetrating, or sorry, not a non-penetrating, a penetrating roof mount, tripod at the peak of the roof. I do live in an HOA, but it was mounted with HOA approval before I bought the house and remains there. And I kind of took over this Davis Vantage 2 or Vantage Pro 2 weather station, and I'm now looking at trying to get approval to put. I think I was looking at essentially a 4.5 foot antenna on it. But the other challenge, of course, will be then figuring out the coax run and et cetera, if I get approval, I should say.
Very cool. Yeah, thanks, Michael, for chiming in there. Yeah, another antenna mount or roof mounting option there. Penetrating roof tripod or a non-penetrating one. Yeah, it's cool that within an HOA you're still able to have some with weather monitoring. That's hopefully they wouldn't intentionally want to block that. I don't think there's any reason anybody would maliciously want to gather weather information. So yeah, luckily within that you have a mounting point already, structure for an antenna. So yeah, hopefully we've discussed HOAs in the past, covenant controls. You kind of just got to speak to the board and just explain the situation, and hopefully they're fairly reasonable about it. And it's usually very similar to satellite TV or things like that. As long as it's not too obtrusive, it's usually not an issue. So very cool. Yeah, if you have anything else on that, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, it'll be, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how the process goes. I actually I'm able to keep in touch with the previous owners. We've only been here just shy of a year. And they said the HOA, when they put it up originally, the HOA was sort of enthusiastically approving of it. And they were, whatever they were doing, they were publishing the weather data somewhere online, and the HOA was providing a link to the weather station in their newsletter. So could probably even get back to that, since I've added a logger to it, and I'm putting it up on Weather Underground, and also currently putting it out on APRS just via IP, but soon hopefully putting it out over the air as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, weather gathering systems. Yeah, there's definitely a tie-in with a lot of things we do, whether it be directly with the transceivers that we use, or as you mentioned, APRS. That's definitely a big thing on APR-STAT-FI is weather reporting stations. So yeah, it's really cool to have just direct weather, hyper-local weather reports from stations around us. And covenant controlled homeowners associations. Plenty of information on there, on ARL. So yeah, it's hopefully that works out for you. Yeah, let us know on that. Go ahead. Yeah, very cool. Cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, if Michael or anybody else has anything on that subject while we're on there, go ahead. Otherwise, we can open it up for anything else. Very cool. So we have about 30 minutes left. Again, this is the Denver Radio Club Elmer session. Appreciate everyone being here. This is held on Google Hangouts, so you don't have to be a ham radio operator to chime in. You can chat or go come in over voice. Casual conversation. We discuss ham radio, STEM topics. Plenty of combined expertise and experience. So with that, I'll throw it out to the group here. No check-ins required. Feel free to put anything in the chat or chime in, and we can go from there. Again, another reminder over the Google Meets. I am sharing my screen. If you do change layout, if you select the three options, 3 circles, and then 4 more options, and then change layout. If you select Spotlight, it should put the person on the screen who's speaking, and so you can see what I'm sharing here. If you have any audio issues, let me know. I can try to help you out. We are streaming this on YouTube. If you search our call sign, Whiskey Zero Tango X-Ray, W0TX, you can find a live stream of this and past nets, meetings, things like that. What else here? I can certainly babble on for a bit. I have a few things I can bring up. But if anybody has anything, definitely don't hesitate to chime in at any given time here. All right.
Doron, that's Jim, K0QR.
Hey, Jim. Hey, go ahead. Yeah.
In regards to J-pole, the benefit of the J-pole is you don't need a ground plane. And typically it's going to be an antenna that's about 5 feet tall. It's not very obtrusive because it's primarily just a single piece of aluminum tubing or copper tubing with a smaller stub on a U-shape. But one thing you need to do when that coax comes down, you need to go through a lightning arrestor to a ground, and that should be before it comes in the house, of course. And with the feed through arrestor, I'm trying to think offhand, polyphaser, I think it is, and there's another one too that's fairly common. It's just use coax fitting on either side of it, and then run a good sized ground wire down to a ground rod. A ground rod should be, I would suspect or suggest, something like 8-foot copper rod that goes into the ground, and make sure you get good ground. And like I say, that should be on the coax before you go into the house. That should satisfy that. The only problem with the a omnidirectional antenna, so if you're in the middle of town and you're trying to work all around town, it works well from that. But of course, you're still...
How does that work if the antenna is already attached to the side of the house? Do you have to run that ground then away from the house?
You can run it down.
If the antenna's...
You can run it down the side of the house. Be best to use a standoff on it, to hold it in place. But
okay, that's what so you don't have to try and... So the fact that the antenna's on the house is is not an issue,
No.
as long as you get that ground cable run right.
Yes, you want to make sure that's between
So
the antenna and you and outside, and has a good connection down to ground.
you said standoff. Is that a distance between the ground and the house?
Yes. You don't have to have a standoff, but and if you get a direct hit, it's not going to matter a whole lot. But if you get a lightning flash coming down that ground wire, you're going to get a scorch mark down the side of the house. So with the standoff,
Fortunately,
it's not necessarily going to preclude that, but it would help keep that away from the house somewhat.
Fortunately, there's a tree that would be taller, not far away. Could act as a lightning rod, I suppose.
That would help, but that's not going to be a total solution. So don't depend on that. Lightning has a tendency to split off and go many paths when it gets in the area. So you want to make sure you got a good ground on the antenna. You don't want that lightning getting inside the house.
Would you also say that antenna ground that you're talking about coming from the lightning arrestor should also be common with the rest of your equipment, so that you don't get a potential difference between two different grounds from your antenna?
Not only your station ground should be common to that as well. In that, I would go through a different path. In other words, you could possibly use that same wire lower down towards the ground, but it would even be good to run a separate ground from your station out to that same ground rod. Or if you got two ground rods, if that's not convenient, you need to tie those two ground rods together as well. Plus, that should be common with the ground in the house.
Correct.
So that's going to be at least two connections, maybe three connections, depending on how many ground rods that you have. Typically on your electrical service, there's a ground rod that's connected to that. So you want to make sure you get all those tied together.
Cool.
So I've
Thank
got
you very
more
much.
designing and planning to do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got more work ahead of me here.
The more you look into it, the more you realize you don't know, and the more you have to understand. Yeah, there's a whole lot to this stuff. So very cool.
Right.
Yeah, very cool. Cool. All right.
When you tie that ground wire to the ground pole, to the ground rod, you should have a good mechanical connection. And usually the ground rods are going to be copper plated. So you can solder to them, but you don't want that solder joint to be the main attachment. What I do usually is I'll solder that ground wire to the ground rod, but then I'll actually put a mechanical clamp on it to make sure that it holds it tight to the ground rod. The reason for that is I'll have a lower impedance connection to that ground rod. And if you have just a mechanical connection, you can actually get corrosion, oxidation, and it's not going to be nearly as good a ground. The lightning is going to not be a problem, but if you're trying to maintain minimum noise, you'd like to have a good low resistance path to earth.
That sounds like an exam question. I'm sure that was on there.
Could be.
Yeah.
I was a year ago. I'm not remembering, but I could have sworn there was grounding questions on there.
Yeah.
The problem with just solder itself is that if you get a high temperature joint because of a lightning strike, the solder melts and now you have no connection. So that's kind of belt and suspenders approach to use a mechanical connection, a good mechanical connection, and then you can also supplement that with a soldered connection.
Well, I won't have that done for next month, but I'll get it done at some point.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, cool. Thanks there, Jim. Yeah, we don't just throw through-hole components into the board and rely on maybe some mechanical tension. Yeah, we definitely make solder joints for a reason. And especially with big, larger diameter type metallics and wires, yeah, you definitely want to have considerations for all of that, not only mechanical tension, but as well as a good solder joint there. Very good suggestion there. Very cool. All right, we have about 20 minutes left here in the Denver Radio Club Elmer session. If anybody has any comments, questions, anything regards to ham radio, electronics, S.t.e.m, any projects you're working on, anything you want to bring up, go ahead. While I try to grapple with my keyboard here. Let's see.
Hey, Daron?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Bill. I'm looking for some help. For some reason or another, I can hear people beautifully, but nobody can apparently hear me. And I was wondering if there was a generous Elmer type who might be able to drop by my house this weekend or the following weekend and just kind of spend an hour or so with me and point out what I'm doing wrong and help me to get it so I can talk to people on 20 meters. And so.
Okay. Let me see. Go ahead.
The last contact I made was, on field day.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yes.
You said 20 meters?
Yeah. Well, that's what the antenna I have is right now.
And what kind of antenna do you use, did you say?
It's a slightly inverted dipole.
That's right. Yeah, I remember we spoke about this. You have a north-south 20-meter oriented 3-element dipole.
Yeah.
You can reach, you mentioned Latvia, but not Kentucky.
Yeah.
And
I, the thing is I've been, I raised the antenna up a month and a half ago, and since then I've been doing a lot of traveling for work. But now I'm in town for a little more than a month, and it's like, could I, solve the problem before it gets too much colder?
SWR is good. Have you tested your power output with a
I think so. The SWR on my Yaesu radio suggests it's fairly low, but I throw a meter into the mix and it's all over the place. And maybe that's what meters do.
It shouldn't. No. That's interesting.
I live in the west side of Lakewood, and if there'd be somebody who's brave enough in this time of COVID, I've had my shots. If they'd be interested in coming over and helping me out for an hour or so, I'd greatly appreciate it.
I might be able to help you, Bill. You're on the west side of Lakewood, you said?
Yeah, kind of halfway between Indiana and what do you call it?
McIntyre?
Sims.
Oh, Sims. Okay.
Right.
You were out at field day then, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's where I live. Right there. So is that near you then?
Well, it was about 10, 15 minutes away.
Oh, okay. If you want to send me your address, and I can figure out what time I can shoot over there. Saturday sound good?
Yeah. There's no Bronco game this weekend. We'll probably lose Thursday night.
Yeah. Okay.
Drop your address and your phone in the chat there, Bill.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could do that. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, into the chat.
I'll tell you what, I'll drop mine in there.
Okay. That means I got to get something to write with.
Oh, okay. Then drop yours in there. I'll just copy.
Yeah, I'll drop mine in there. Okay, so.
And you have a single band dipole? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
That should be pretty easy then.
What's your ground situation, Bill?
Well, I'm working on it.
Well, you're asking what type of ground it's?
Well, I've got one ground rod sitting outside of the window where I have my radios. working on is I've got another ground rod that's doubling as a hold down for my antenna. And what I need to do is run a line between the two and eventually hook them into the house ground. But I got concrete in the way at the moment. Well, there's my phone number.
Is that a cell?
Pardon me?
Is that a cell number? Or
Yes, it is. And I work at home all day. So I should be around.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yep, I'll bring a bunch of analyzers and
Yeah.
I'll bring all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a, what do you call it, a watt meter made by Bird. But when I found out that all the things I had to make it go, I found it was cheaper to buy a MFJ watt meter instead.
Hmm.
And so, and it would be any time after 10 o'clock if that's available.
I'll shoot you a text or something and give me your address on that.
Yeah.
I'll bring you something.
'Cause I got a sneaky feeling I'm just making some fundamental mistake, or maybe it's just a lack of patience. I don't know. But
Any amplifiers or just 100 watts?
it's just 100 watts.
All right. Yeah, you should be able to get out.
Yeah.
What do you use for a feed line, Bill?
Pardon me?
What do you use for a feed line?
Coax.
RG8, RG59, RG Elmer.
It's either RG8 or 59. I can't remember which.
About the size of your pinky.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got the UHF 239 style connectors on each end. And if we have to, we can take the antenna down and do something with it.
Okay.
Very
Just-
cool.
Give me a call, please, when you're on the way.
Oh yeah, we'll touch base before that.
Okay. Cool. Okay, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks, Mark, for being able to provide help there. That's awesome. Yeah, anybody out there, don't ever hesitate. If you have availability, people are always looking for things, whether they think it's simple or not, or it's simple for you or not. You know, we're all here to help each other out. So glad to hear we could get something here for you.
Yeah. Okay, well, hey, thanks, Mark.
You bet.
And if you need some pictures ahead of time, just let me know. I can email you some.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, we've about 15 minutes left. We have a hard stop to begin the meeting. How can a ham live happily in an HOA? Presented by Stan Trout. So definitely things we've been speaking about, and attic antennas, indoor antennas, outdoor antennas, HOA, restricted, unrestricted. Yeah, just getting on the air. So yeah, look out for that. Here in about 15 minutes. With that, though, does anybody have any other comments, questions, anything else you'd like to bring up for this Elmer session? Go ahead, it's for you guys and gals. Actually, I have a question, and I think Mark and Zero Xero actually might be the only one who might be able to answer it. You still there?
Oh yeah.
So, this is probably, I'd imagine if there was a solution for this, it'd be out there. So, I have a Yaesu FT857D, and its microphone and faceplate are broken out with Ethernet. So right now I have two Ethernet cables basically going from my basement up to my living room. One, and then they both just have like female couplers or whatever, and essentially I can just break out the remote and the head through two Ethernet cables over just standard RJ45. Is it possible to do true layer 1 traffic over any standard layer 2 type equipment switches that we would have, or is that Can I eliminate one? I wouldn't think so. Yeah.
No. Well, no. No, because it's a different. It's actually you get into the protocols when you get into layer 2. So
Yeah. It's not switching. It's
no.
yeah. It's
So
definitely
right
physical
now
layer.
you're dealing with serial communication. It's really a cat communications going through there, and it's just a one-to-one conductor to another conductor. That's all it is.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can.
Yes.
They do make actually little breakout boxes that allow you to run multiple cat connections to the front of that particular radio, and it'll handle 2 cat connections on it.
Oh. Okay.
Is that what
I
you're
have to
looking
try
for?
Well, I'm just trying to eliminate one. Well, I guess in theory I was just trying to basically put it over the IP network, but that's definitely not going to happen. But if I can eliminate one cable, then that definitely won't hurt. So that's cool. Okay, you gotta have to check that. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about the very abstract here, but the OSI layer or the OSI model. This is how kind of the internet is run, but it kind of translates into a lot of the technology we use that isn't on the internet, but still has some sort of communications RF inside of it. So physical layer is what all of our radios use. It's just the wiring, the physical wiring that's used, whether it be coax to get to the antenna or to get connections to your remote or the head unit or whatever. So I was trying to do something a little bit tricky, but it's definitely not a thing that's possible. So okay, very cool. Yeah, I was just wondering. Very cool. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to talk one day about the basics of the internet, kind of the OSI model, and just how it relates to ham radio and some of the technology we use. Yeah, because it's a lot of stuff there. Okay. Yeah, anybody else at the moment? About 10 minutes left here. Otherwise, I can run through some stories and we can wrap things up. It's a great blog to read if you have any interest in software-defined radio. It's basically a USB scanner. It's about $20. It has a SMA female on one side and then USB on the other, so you can break this out to any sort of coaxial cable that you have or antenna that you have, and receive basically a huge amount of spectrum, HF, VHF, UHF. I think it's 3 megahertz up to 3 gigahertz or something like that. So they have just a lot of articles. Top article here or is snooping network traffic from LAN cables with an RTL SDR. Kind of similar to what we were just speaking about a little bit. So our Ethernet cables, LAN Ethernet cables, those thicker cables that you use to connect to the internet, if you still use that, they leak information wirelessly. It happens as it happens to be. This wants to come up here. Yeah, these types of cables. So with a software-defined radio, somebody was able to listen in on the network traffic that was going on. So some interesting techniques here, some interesting security things going on. A lot of high-level articles here. What else? Another great website to check out, hackaday.com. Definitely, this is about electronics, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, all the engineering disciplines. They speak about ham radio once in a while. See news articles here. See somebody built a robot to stop hunching. Somebody's building a hammer powered by gun powered. Circuit sculpture is pretty interesting. Somebody has been building raw circuits and making art projects out of them, essentially. Actual working, this looks like some sort of a music player or something like that, but making artwork out of it. So really cool stuff there. Don't hesitate to jump in if you want. We have about 10 minutes left. Just trying to fill the air here. Let's see. Sign detects RF to show you are on the air. Like a lot of hams, Stuart. I don't know if we have his call sign. Oh, right. It's one of those two right there. Either the November Kilo 9 uniform or Alpha Charlie 9 Lima Zulu. Wanted it on the air sign. These signs often connect to a push-to-talk trans switch, or maybe an output from the transmitter that also does things like switches antennas or switches in an amplifier. Their version, though, simply senses the radio frequency emissions from the transmitter and lights up that way. 2 videos provided on it. Excuse me. Let's see, video of this here. If I can bring this up.
And you're
Trying to find it here working.
with a clear coat of a matte finish, just to give it some protection. So with that, we're going to hit the radio here. We're going to try to work some digital modes, FT8 on 20 meters.
Can I ask a question while you're doing that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So in the coming weeks, I'm going to be driving across the country, and it occurs to me I could also start getting into my worked all states thing, since I've only hit, around Arvada and Denver as yet. So when I pull up Repeater Book, as I do this, if a repeater comes up on Repeater Book, is it safe to assume I can go ahead, I'm amateur extra, and go ahead and try and hit that repeater, or are there some that might come up that I shouldn't be trying to hit for whatever reason?
I think if they publicly list them on there, they're welcoming people to use it. At least that's how I read that. If they don't, and again, nobody owns the frequency. Somebody might own the repeater, yeah, but I think we're all kind of allowed to use any available repeaters anyway, given the...
I just didn't want to...
It'll say restricted on it if it is, but there just isn't any, I haven't come across any restricted repeaters since the late 80s. So I think you're going to be fine there. I would not rely 100% on Repeater Book being accurate. It depends on what state you're in. Some states are better than others on keeping it.
Oh, I remember a story you told me.
Yes, there you go. But if you want to help keep it up to date while you're doing your traveling, make sure to let there'll be a person responsible for that particular state listed on the Repeater Book. Make sure to send them an email and let them know that repeater is not working or isn't acting the way that they said it is. That's part of the community of trying to keep all the data up to date. So
okay,
if you want,
if I miss next month, it occurs to me I'll be on this road trip, so I'll come back with a report after that.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, very cool.
The Arizona groups are great. Those guys are fantastic. They really try to stay on top of it. Are you going west or east, Ed?
East, all the way to the East Coast.
Oh, man.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, good luck.
So there'll be a few states in there I'll be able to try while I'm out there.
You taking your Jeep?
I am.
All right.
Oh, and I put the external antenna on it. I got a Comet mount on the side, just like you were saying, on the side of the roof rack. So now I have I can use that handheld as a pseudo mobile as well now.
There you go. Good job.
Nice. Yeah. The more you can, the less stuff you have to buy, and the more you can utilize the radios you have in different applications. That always makes things really, really nice. Very cool. All right. Yeah. Worked all states, Repeater Book, reliability. I didn't realize there were some repeaters that had restricted sort of status on it. But again, I haven't traveled much really recently, so I don't know. Yeah, and I guess it's a community-driven effort. So yeah, if something is wrong with the repeater you ever are listening to, or whether it be locally, without travel, or traveling, don't ever hesitate to maybe look it up on repeaterbook.com and let the repeater owner. There's some issues or whatever. Sometimes they may not know. Cool. Okay. A few minutes left here. Real quick, again, we do stream this Elmer session, our past nets, our Wednesday night learning nets, Sunday night nets, as well as our meetings over on YouTube. If you search for our club call sign W0TX, you should be able to find it. So you can stream this on your smartphone or smart TV if you want, or if you're not in the Denver area, you're more than welcome to check that out. Meeting starting in a few minutes here. How can you live happily in an HOA as a ham radio operator by Stan Trout. So stick around for that. What else? just a couple more minutes here. Let's see. I always feel like I have something and I'm always forgetting it. ARL.org/news. Great. Definitely on the topic of ham radio. That's always a great place to get ham radio articles and news, things like that. Plenty of stuff going on there. Let's see. Yeah, if you enjoyed this Elmer session, again, we do on Wednesday night nets. We have a ham learning net Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. over the air, 7:30 p.m. On 145.490, 448.625. Again, we also do stream it on YouTube, so you can check that out. Again, just an hour or so long session where we discuss ham radio, STEM topics. So everything we were kind of discussing this evening, we do this kind of weekly as well, so feel free to join that. More info on that net and or just our club in general, W0TX.org. If you go to the Denver net list link and scroll down to Wednesday, you'll find more info on that for our groups.io and YouTube, as well as Club Business. I missed this, but and it's removed now. But there was on the W0TX webpage, there was Mark N0Xer had held a meeting for some club business recently. So yeah, always check out the website. There might be some in-person things here or there that we're trying to do as we can. So yeah. What else? Just a couple more minutes here. Make sure that club president, Jerry's here, and Stan is here. I don't know, Stan, if you want to test things out before we start, you can try that if you'd like.
Stan and I had a good test earlier today.
Oh, good. Okay. During the meeting, you can put in questions in the chat, depending on the client you're on. You go to the bottom right, click on Chat with Everyone, put in a question in there. Definitely make sure you're muted. Make sure this mute button is red like that. You can also raise your hand right here. You just push the hand. If you have a question, you can always do that as well. That, I guess I'll probably wrap things up. Again, my name is Daron, K1DBC. I am the host of the Learning Net on Wednesdays. So again, thanks everyone for being here, and hopefully you're doing all well, and wrap things up. Everyone take care.
Okay, Jerome, do you